Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Please smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Have your say. And a very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Oh boy, do I have a show for you today. Deadline are reporting that Mike Flanagan has pitched a clayface idea for a movie to James Gunn and Peter Safran. Yes, I nearly forgot their names there. But then they go on to say that maybe Matt Reeves' The Batman 2 will have a version of Clayface in that movie. And it's created an explosive debate over on Twitter. You know what hardcore Matt Reeves' The Batman stands are like. We'll get into it. We'll talk about the picture I just held up for you. That's from the Tomorrow War. It was teased by James Gunn, but what is he trying to say there? James Gunn also, as usual, went on to basically get himself in a little bit of trouble as well, because someone's been rumoured to be playing Batman, Superman. Someone's being rumoured to be in the casting process to play James Gunn's Superman in Superman Legacy. James denied it, but then went on and said, I haven't even heard of him. And so he had to come back again and apologise for saying that. The guy simply talks too much. But first of all, this is the big headline of today, on today's show, that Clayface is being rumoured to be either being dealt with by Mike Flanagan, who's a very, very talented guy. Apparently, he's pitched an idea to James Gunn and Peter Safran. Now, Mike has come out and denied this. Now, I actually think that this is true. Why? Because you don't pick out the name Mike Flanagan and Clayface out of your backside. So there's got to be some truth in that rumour. Are Gunn and Safran looking at pitches for a live-action Clayface? But as I've already said, Deadline went on and said that there's another rumour saying that maybe Clayface will be Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. And as I said, that's caused a big debate over on Twitter. It's really funny seeing all of this play out. Can we trust Deadline? No. And I'll tell you why. Deadline have got this really, really good reputation. But last year, they were putting out a rumour that Henry Cavill was going to be at San Diego Comic-Con of last year to talk about his future as Superman. That aged as well as milk and cheese in the Sahara Desert. So, and they've been rumouring lots of things lately in terms of DC, and it's been mostly shot down. No, we can't trust Deadline. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about this really interesting and amusing situation. So Mike Flanagan has denied it. So either, let's just say this rumour is true. Either Mike Flanagan is pitching an idea for DC Universe or even DC Elseworlds, or Matt Reeves is introducing a live-action Clayface into his Batman universe. Now, why are the Batman, the Battinson, the Matt Reeves stands really upset about this? Because Matt Reeves has always discussed about everything in his universe, taking the Batman universe and making it like it's part of our real world. So I've got to give Matt kudos. He did this with the Riddler. Previous live-action Riddlers didn't seem like they were very relatable, realistic, but it's not that they need to be relatable and realistic. It's just they were a little bit campy and unbelievable. Now, I think the Riddler is a great concept. I'm sure there's many guys and girls out there that are very good at riddles. Is it that hard to believe that a sociopath or a psychopath could do riddles? But what Matt did, he took this concept, made him into a relatable serial killer who's sending clues via riddles. And I'll tell you what, those fucking riddles were really hard to work out. Matt Reeves is a genius. He pulled it off. Now, he was asked a question about Superman. You know, would you deal with Superman in a film? Would you put Superman in the Batman universe? And there was a lot of furious debate about this. If you want to keep that franchise realistic, you just bring in Clark Kent as a cameo. He never uses his powers, and that's it. But I think in terms of that situation, is it going to be a rule? Is it going to be a rule that everything in Matt Reeves' universe is flesh and bone, flesh and stone? So believable. When he was talking about making everything feel like it could be part of our world, was he being literal? Did he mean that he'll never put anything supernatural in his franchise, in his movies? It's very, very interesting. So, for example, his Selena Kyle, one of my favourite versions in live action, wasn't licked and bitten by a bunch of cats while being thrown from a tall building like in Batman Returns. Now, I didn't mind that in Batman Returns. Looking back at it, it is a little bit silly, but obviously she still loves cats in the movie. But so he took Selena Kyle and made her really, really kind of someone who could be in our world, but just wears tight leather gear, right? But she's got such a great background in the movie. But by the way, most of what he did with her is straight from the comics, really. So he's very, very clever. So the question is, would Matt Reeves want to put Clayface in his Batman sequel movie? I don't know what his intentions are. I don't know if he would ever do this, but is there a way of making a relatable, realistic version of Clayface in our world? Absolutely yes, if you've got an imagination. Luckily for us, Matt Reeves does have something that his fans don't, an imagination. So I believe, yes, Clayface could be made realistic. You'd have to change him from the comics. I don't think you could go with CGI. You'd have to go with prosthetics. And we've seen from the Doctor Who revival, who do magnificent prosthetics, by the way, and they look so real. I mean, you look at the Judoon, they're all fucking prosthetics. It's amazing. So I believe you could change certain things about Clayface. How would it work? I don't know. I mean, I don't think people would like this idea, but you could just nickname him Clayface because he never changes his expression. Now, that wouldn't be the proper Clayface, obviously, but there are other things you can do if you have an imagination. As I say, I don't know if Matt has any intention of doing this. I would love to see a live action Clayface because I think he's a remarkable character. And certainly, if you think about it, Clayface could be in his own, DC Elseworlds movie. If Mike Flanagan is pitching something, if Mike Flanagan's pitching this to basically Gunn and Safran, it means they may be taking pitches for the character, either in DC Universe or DC Elseworlds. But the thing is, they're not really involved in DC Elseworlds. That's away from their remit. I want to be clear here that the only reason that Matt and James have had meetings is so Matt and James don't, tread on each other's toes creatively and repeat each other and contradict each other. So it's important to understand that. Peter Safran and James Gunn are in charge of the interconnected, brand new DCEU timeline named DC Universe. I want to be absolutely clear with that. So it looks like they're looking to do something with Clayface if the rumour is true from Deadline, and I've just told you how inconsistent they've been with DC news and rumours lately. So they could be looking to do something with Clayface. Or the other rumour, and these are all conjecture, and rumour, by the way, is that Matt Reeves will introduce Clayface in the Batman 2. I believe that Matt can pull it off. He pulled off Riddler. He pulled off Catwoman. And remarkably, he's pulled off Colin Farrell as the fucking Penguin. Have you seen the prosthetics on that guy? He don't even look like, he don't even look like Colin. He looks like an overweight, kind of limping, weird Robert De Niro, as Al Capone. He looks really, really good. So I believe absolutely Matt could definitely pull this off. Does he want to? Would he go down this direction? I have no idea. Who do I think is going to be the villains in the Batman 2? Well, I said this from the moment I finished watching the movie. I believe there will be an assortment of the Rogues Gallery in the Batman 2. I believe there will be a gang of villains. I think the way he set it up, the way he did it with the flood, it really does hint to more than one villain because they're cut off, and I don't know if they're still going to be cut off when we get to the sequel. It makes sense that a group of villains are going to try and take over Gotham. That makes sense. So I don't think there will be a main villain. Maybe there'll be a head of the Rogues Gallery. Imagine the 1960s Batman TV movie. Obviously not as campy. And having all the Rogues Gallery together against Batman. That's how I foresee it. I also believe that the Arkham Asylum will be used quite a bit because a lot of the stuff I found out about Arkham Asylum from the first Batman movie was actually fascinating in terms of Martha being Martha Arkham. Now, I don't know if Martha Wayne was always an Arkham in the comics, because I'm going to be clear with you, as I always am, because this is an honest channel. I'm an honest person. I don't have a depth of knowledge in terms of the comics. I'm a DC fan via live action, via being introduced to Superman through Superman the movie, and falling head over heels in love with the Smallville television show, which made me look into DC Comics a lot deeper. That's why I call myself a DC fan. So I haven't read a great amount of comics. So sometimes, if you see me talking about something that I don't know about deeply, and you think I've got something wrong, you have absolutely got the right to correct me in the comments down below, whether I'm doing a live or I'm on a live premiere, or you're just seeing the video, a long time after I've recorded it. That's fine. I'm being honest. We're going to talk about the Tomorrow War and what James Gunn's been teasing very shortly. I know jack shit about the Tomorrow War. So if you feel the need to fill in the blanks for me, and it will be very, very helpful, by all means, do. Just to finish off the subject on Clayface and Matt Reeves and asking the question whether he should be on DC Universe, where, I think that will be a more fantastical franchise where you can do more fantastical things, or if he should be tackled by Matt Reeves. I mean, there is this kind of thing where you could do both, but I feel like I've already criticised that concept of having too many versions of the same thing because of DC Elseworlds and DC Universe. I personally believe, because they, Deadline are giving us both the kind of scenarios, either in DC Universe being pitched by Mike Flanagan or over on Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. It's clear to me, it's clear to me, if you want to see a proper, faithful version of Clayface, then you need to see him on DC Universe or maybe an HBO Max streaming show or something like that. Because then there's no remit to lock him down to be a more relatable, realistic character. If I was a betting man, I would say that maybe Matt Reeves won't be doing Clayface and it's just a bottomless, seamless rumour. But maybe Matt's decided to be a bit ambitious and he's got an interesting take on the character. Personally, I'd like to see him in DC Universe, but I do feel that he could be tackled by Matt Reeves in a good, clever, smart way, like he tackled the Penguin and the Riddler. But I tell you who would fucking make a great Clayface movie? Zack Snyder. And you're going to kill me for saying that. Anyway, let's move on from that situation before I get beaten up or taken down from YouTube. So our next story today. It seems like James Gunn comes online at least once a week to tease and basically get himself into trouble. And he's certainly done that this time. So first of all, after I finished watching my live premiere and talking to you guys, this popped up. James Gunn posted this. Now, this is a panel of the Tomorrow War, and it's very interesting. Now, some characters I recognize, some I don't. I obviously can see Shazam in the background, very interesting. We can see Superman, we can see Batman, we can see Robin. Now, I'm not sure who the black guy is, so someone can tell me that. But there's loads of different characters. We can see the Flash. Some people are telling me that's Wally West. I don't know. But there's a lot of fucking characters here. So anyone who's seen this picture and who can list down all these characters, if you're watching the premiere, please list these down so we can see who all these characters are. So is James Gunn teasing the Tomorrow War? Well, he could be teasing the Tomorrow War, or he just could be teasing the characters in the panel. By the way, I think Green Arrow's in there as well. So very, very exciting. But he may not be teasing the Tomorrow War. He could be teasing all these characters in this panel and trying to hint that they're all involved in DC Universe. Could it be that in Superman Legacy, that all these characters are catalogued in this movie, that these characters are teased in Superman Legacy? Could it be that the Tomorrow War is teased in Superman Legacy? Could the Tomorrow War be the thing in Superman Legacy? Could that be the thing that happens in that movie, or will he tease it? Considering he's doing authority, I think there's a good chance that maybe he could be dealing with the Tomorrow War. Look, despite all the queries and issues I have with the Gunn and Saffron appointment and some of the PR disasters they've already had, when someone posts a beautiful panel of artwork like that, I get excited for the future. But then I've got to remember, James Gunn didn't draw that picture. He didn't write the Tomorrow War graphic novel or novels, right? He's just posting a picture of something. As I've already said, I like the first part of the Gods and Monsters slate he's posted. But as I've also said, they're just words and letters. It's all about the execution. And to find out how good or bad the execution's going to be, we have to wait and see. It's easy to post that kind of stuff. So yes, it's naturally exciting for me to see the Tomorrow War panel and to see all those characters he could be introducing in DC Universe. I still don't know if James Gunn's capable of doing this. I think that James Gunn, look, whether you like him or not because of his comments and his really old, tweets that were very offensive to any decent person, I think whether you hate him because of that, whether you hate him because he removed Henry Cavill as Superman, we have to admit one thing. He likes comics. He likes Marvel comics. He likes DC comics. He has a great knowledge of them. And it's good to have someone running DC in terms of a storyteller who understands the comics and understands kind of what these characters are. And I have no issue with that. Has he got the ability to write and direct a Superman movie that speaks to me and you? That's the question. Is this the guy who can create a brand new DC universe? Well, it's not exactly a brand new DC universe, but you know what I'm saying. He has the potential to be able to do this. He's made 3, including the Suicide Squad, 4, including Peacemaker, 4 really brilliant entries to the live-action comic book genre. He has. Guardians Volume 1, I love it. Guardians Volume 2, I love it. Peacemaker is his best work. I also really enjoyed the Suicide Squad. None of what he does is perfect, but he certainly has an interesting idea of how to put them on the screen. His cinematography is always very good. His writing is sharp. His jokes can be awkward. He does try and wiggle himself out of serious situations by cracking jokes. That's something he's been criticised for, and he's going to have to be more careful about it in the future. But we are where we are, but I have got question marks over his and Saffron's leadership, and if it's not just more of the same of what we've already had. But again, something we're going to have to wait and see. So I am excited when I see these comic book panels, but then I have to remember that James didn't actually paint or write those comics. Removing Henry Cavill as Superman has opened a Pandora's box of casting rumours for James Gunn. And the latest one, and let me get this name right, is Logan Lerman. So Logan Lerman is the latest rumour casting and fan casting to be cast as Superman in Superman Legacy. It's a rumour that James Gunn has shot down, but has not shot it down in great fashion or in great style. He said, I haven't even heard of him. He had to come back afterwards to apologise and say he wasn't being disrespectful. He's just researched him and he's done some good things, but he's not in his thinking at this moment in time to play Superman in Superman Legacy. He reiterates again, he's writing down lists and preparing to do auditions. So in terms of the history of casting Superman, all the actors had to audition. There's never been a situation where it's got to be him. Although I think with Tom Welling in Smallville, Alan Miles really wanted Tom Welling. They wanted him badly. But in terms of Superman the movie, Christopher Reeve was bottom of the page in terms of actors. But he had to audition. And then Brandon Routh had to audition. Dean Cain had to audition. Tyler Hoechlin had to audition. So there's never been a Superman actor that hasn't had to audition. I don't believe these are going to be open auditions. They rarely are for Superman. I think what they do is they pick certain names that they like the look of and they audition them. Now, in terms of fan casting, my number one choice would be, if we're talking about famous actors, is Austin Butler. He could he would be a great Clark Kent and he would be a great Superman. The problem is, he's a highly talented, respected actor that's going places. I don't think he's going to want to play Superman. Now, considering Superman is my favourite fictional character, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing Superman. But he could destroy someone's career if he's typecast, or if the adaptation of the character is shit and everyone hates the way it's portrayed. So it's a big risk for someone who's on such a great kick of form in terms of movies and results of movies and performances in movies like Austin Butler. But that would be my choice for Superman if we were looking at someone who's really well known. Now, Dick Donner always said you shouldn't pick a known actor as Superman, and I certainly understand that. I think James will maybe go for someone that's unknown. But then there's some really weird Chris Pratt rumours as Superman. I think Chris is too short to play Superman. I think he'd make a better Batman or other characters within DC Universe. Listen, I don't know if he's even going to be part of DC Universe. I do know that Chris has said if the phone call comes from James Gunn, he'd be very interested. And I'd be very interested in him playing, lots of different characters in the DC Universe. There's so many different characters that Chris could absolutely play. I don't think Superman's one of them. And I think the world would go absolutely mad. It doesn't take much to upset geeks and nerds on Twitter, does it? So, yeah, probably not a direction James Gunn wants to go in. But as I said many times, the removal of Henry Cavill and the way it was done is the reason he finds himself, James Gunn, under so much pressure. Snyderverse stands didn't exactly sing his praises after the Suicide Squad movie, but they weren't singing Matt Reeves' praises after the Batman either. But most of the criticisms from Snyderverse stands in terms of James Gunn and the Suicide Squad and Matt Reeves, the Batman, are very illogical, and it's just a bunch of fans saying things to destabilise a film coming out, because they think if that doesn't happen, then their man's thing will happen. And that is not how Hollywood works. But basically, one fan on Twitter, I think, was it Justice Soldier, did quote tweet James Gunn with an interesting thing when he had to apologise for saying he had never heard of this actor, and said, you know, you need to learn not to speak so much. You talk too much. You say too many things. Get on with your job. And even though Justice Soldier is a huge, devout Snyderverse fan, I think he makes a very good point. It's something I've called James out on a lot. So it's something that he gets himself in trouble. He talks too much all the time. And this is where the problem lies. But once a week he seems to come onto Twitter. He, denies many rumours. And I think at this point, we're nearly in April. We're not far away from the release of Guardians Volume 3. Maybe he should stick to that for the time being. The big question is, will my throat survive for the next 4 minutes to complete this video? Stay here to find out. I can already feel it going. So, Collider have written an article that Zack Snyder should move on for the health of his own career. But in a lot of ways, Zack Snyder has moved on from the Snyderverse. He's done Army of the Dead. He's just completed shooting 2 Rebel Moon movies, which I can't wait to see. So in that way, his career is very healthy. But in the same sense, he's still harbouring dreams and fantasies about restoring the Snyderverse and finishing his Justice League arc. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a very interestingly timed article. What do I think? I think we're winning. I think everyone that supports Sell Snyderverse to Netflix is winning. Because Collider have always been very anti-Snyder. So I believe we're going back to the days of Release the Snyder Cut. Remember, it doesn't exist. Snyder should move on. We're getting it again. It's very interesting on the day this article is released that James Gunn posts a comic book panel of the Tomorrow War and starts coming onto Twitter. To me, this seems like very, very nervous behaviour from certain people from the studio, aka James Gunn. There's a reason that there's an article out there saying that Zack Snyder should move on for the own health, for the health of his own career. His career is doing very well. Thank you very much. He's at the peak of his career. Why shouldn't he and his fans fight to restore something that millions of people around the world would love to see? And that's my opinion about that. The other day, we spoke about Ben Affleck in a podcast talking about his role in the Flash movie, calling it a great movie, and leaking a huge spoiler about the movie. He leaked the fact that Wonder Woman is in this movie. Is this an accident? No. Nor was the whole Tom Cruise has seen the Flash movie and loves the Flash movie thing. The whole thing is purposely done. Ben Affleck has leaked this element of the movie on purpose because Warner Brothers Discovery told him to, because they're desperate. There's no difference between Ben leaking this spoiler to them putting Wonder Woman in that Shazam Fury of the Gods TV spot. This is very desperate behaviour, boys and girls. It absolutely is. You can see them sweating with desperation. Zaslav is desperate for the Flash movie to make the money it deserves. Apparently, it's the best DC film since The Dark Knight. Well, we'll see about that. But yeah, if you think it's an accident that Ben Affleck leaked that spoiler in that interview or podcast or wherever it is, you haven't been paying attention. Ben Affleck is a very intelligent guy. He's been in the industry before. He knows how to keep secrets from a movie. There's no question about it. It was tactical. But if we look back at these Sudden David Zaslav tactics since he formed Warner Brothers Discovery. Superman in a post-credit scene of Black Adam. Didn't work. Wonder Woman being leaked on TV spots. Didn't work. Now they're leaking like a spoiler from the movie involving Batman and Wonder Woman, right? So there's definitely going to be a lot more interest in the Flash movie than there was in Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Black Adam. There is a huge potential for this movie to be a big hit, but we just don't know what it's going to do within the box office, and I find that a very, very intriguing situation. There's the people who will boycott this movie because they're Snyderverse stans. There's the people who will boycott this movie because they're offended by Ezra Miller's conduct. And then there's the rest of us who can't wait to see this movie and to see what it's all about. And for me, the trailers looked absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I mean, potentially it's a really, really good movie, but we just don't know how the audience will respond to it. It's the next DC movie coming out. Warner Brothers Discovery and David Zaslav are going to be taking a huge inhale, and they won't exhale until that movie is released. There's very pressured times in this industry right now. Will DC get the win it desperately needs? This has been Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.